1, get out of my personal space. 2, stay away from my personal space. 3, keep away from that personal space. 4, come on. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. We're not talking Rick and Morty. We are talking Solar Opposites Season 2, coming to Hulu tomorrow. I want to say thank you to Hulu for providing me with the screeners for every episode. I'm going to tell you guys if this season is better, if this season is worth it, and if we're expanding on a certain storyline that I know everyone loves. So I need you in the comments down below. If you like this review, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. I would love to talk more about this show. So a family of aliens move to Middle America where they debate whether life is better there or on their home planet. But at the beginning of Season 2, the Solar Opposites have repaired their ship and are heading to space unless something goes hilariously wrong. And of course, Justin Roiland, co-creator of Rick and Morty, is once again bringing us a series that everyone was inevitably going to compare to Rick and Morty in the first season. And I will admit, part of it did kind of feel like a spin-off or maybe a rejected episode of Interdimensional Cable. Not that that's a bad thing. I still laughed. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But the storyline that stood out to me the most was the humans being shrunk down and put in the wall, kind of like ants in an ant farm. And I will admit, I do need a Rick and Morty fix right about now. It's one of my absolute favorite shows. I feel like that's very cliche to say, but you guys know, I love that show. That's how a lot of you found this channel, doing reaction videos. But Solar Opposites Season 2, I really wanted it to stand out. Ended up really loving Season 1. A lot of it has to do with that there's an A, a B, that C storyline that I thoroughly enjoyed, but I thought it came together by the final episode and really started to stand out on its own. Season 2 fully stands out on its own, and they have created this sci-fi spin on certain concepts, and it almost had this meta flavor to it in Season 2 that we didn't quite get in Season 1, very self-aware concepts and jokes that may fill in that gap of what I was maybe missing in Season 1 to create a more complete show. Now, again, is it a drastic transformation? Not necessarily, but I gave Season 1 a great review. I thoroughly believe they're tapping into something different here. The only difference is, in my opinion, the fact that the Wall Subplot this season maybe wasn't as impactful as it was in Season 1. It really does feel like setup. And then you go and watch the interviews behind the scenes, and it's actually confirmed by Justin Roiland that they set up a lot of things that are coming in Season 3. This time around, that subplot has a true detective flair to it. They're trying to solve this mystery of a murder or a series of murders that's happening. You have new people coming into the wall. They've set up an even more organized way of providing everyone with food, with vegetables and fruits, with ways to survive. You got somebody walking around, a little ladybug once again. So we're back into that world, and we stay in that world for a little bit, but we don't spend maybe as much time as we did in Season 1. And because that was pretty much everyone's favorite subplot of Season 1, that may scare you into thinking, oh no, Season 2 is not going to be as good. What makes this season better is they stick to that, give us a little bit more of that, set up great things for Season 3, but it's the surrounding subplots that are better. Corvo, Terry, Yumulak, and Jesse, they're great this time around. Not that they weren't the first time around, but I feel like their characters are way more fleshed out. You get a lot of Corvo and his jealousy when Terry is not giving him his full attention, or when he goes off and does his own thing, but then he realizes that this family is where he needs to be. And these are different dimensions to Corvo's character that make him stand out from a character like Rick. Obviously, he's going to sound like Rick because it's Justin Roiland, but the first season, I drew a lot of comparisons to the character of Rick. This time around, he's multi-dimensional and layered in terms of character development, much more so that I much preferred this time around. And also, the stakes between the family as a whole, they are so much higher. They're not worried as much about each other going off and causing trouble. They've kind of accepted the fact that they're going to do that regardless. There's one character in particular where Corvo gets really jealous and he bans dinner parties all across the United States, and they're going around essentially hunting people down for a reason, which I will not spoil, for having dinner parties in the first place. And they cause a lot of chaos. And that's a big episode if you think about the repercussions. There are other episodes where they're taking pop culture and conveying it in a way that if you understand the subtle nods that it's going for, you will just have the best time with one episode in particular where they take a lot of Leonardo DiCaprio movie tropes. And each member of the family is doing something different. And if you understand every reference that they're going for, you're going to have the best time with that episode because it's so meta. And the meta humor this season was escalated and upped to an 11. And it really doesn't feel like we got half of that in season 1. There are parodies of, like I mentioned, the Leonardo DiCaprio movies, Aliens, a certain Keanu Reeves film that if you've seen, you know exactly what they're going for. But it feels like every episode holds a reference, but it isn't leaning too far into that while compromising character development. They are building these well-rounded characters, and it feels like every episode we learn just a bit more about Yumulak. We're learning just a bit more about Terry and Corvo's relationship this time around really is fleshed out. Now, it feels like much more of a subtle thing because maybe they don't want you to know how exactly they feel about each other, but you understand exactly what they're going for about 3 to 4 episodes in, and I just really liked that. And, you know, it's silly, it's satirical at times, they're playing on pop culture, they're breaking the fourth wall, talking about the fact that they're in a TV show. They mention the word Hulu so many times, and that may annoy some people, but I found a lot of it to be hysterical, and I think I was laughing out loud more often this season, even though my favorite storyline, the storyline in The Wall, wasn't as prominent. It was still there, but it's everything else that I started to like a bit more. There are also a lot of guest stars this season, actual guest stars and their voices, but also celebrity cameos where it's not really the celebrity voice that I think a lot of people are going to get a kick out of. Just in the first episode, they meet another very similar but different alien family with a guest star who was just really good in the role. And it's the chaos that ensues from each individual episode, each storyline. And again, they set some things up with my personal favorite storyline, everything happening in The Wall, for the next season that really has my mouth watering. And I'm like, all right, the show's funny, it's silly, but things are getting really serious over here, and I can't wait to see what comes from it. And here's what we'll end on. If you're looking for something that maybe is smarter than Rick and Morty, you're not going to find that here. If you're looking for something that is very self-aware, meta, and it knows the kind of show that it's building towards, maybe it's not there quite yet, but it's getting there, but it also provides all of the things that you love from Season 1. Essentially, if you loved Season 1, you're probably going to love Season 2, but if you didn't love Season 1, then I think you may get even more out of this season. Solar Opposites is much more self-aware this time around, and the storylines that made Season 1 stand out are even better. My score is an 85%. I mean, count me in on this show, man. And maybe it is, I just needed a good laugh, and this provided me all of the laughs that I needed. Didn't have to maybe think as hard about certain things as I do when I'm watching a Rick and Morty, but they have established themselves as two very different shows at this point, even though you got some very similar sounding voices, which I love Justin Roiland. So you guys are the very best. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like these reviews, let me know. Leave your comments, drop your thumbs up, and come back, because tomorrow is going to be a busy day. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a Netflix series, Suicide Squad trailer. Oh my goodness, I need to sleep.